Here comes Moses. Here comes the quarterback, Burrow. Looking for a block, and he got it up in the front by Hopkins into the end zone. Touchdown!
Fakes, throwing to the end zone. Wide open is Higgins for the Cincinnati touchdown.
There's the sneak. Burrow gets low, driving towards the goal line. He's inside the one, and he's into the end zone for the touchdown.
Welcome to New Stripe City YouTube channel for diehard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, and I'm here today to do a special Q&A segment where we're going to talk about the Trae Waynes injury news. We're also going to talk about a little bit about the Bengals and Vikings game, things that could happen, Jamar Chase. So as you guys know, usually when I do Q&As, I haven't done one of these in quite some time, but generally what you do is join the link that I have down there. So if you see it, it's the StreamYard link that's listed on there. If you join that way, I can bring you in. You can ask your question. We'll try to get to as many people as we can tonight, but that's generally the way that we'll do that. And one thing that I want to say is please be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because I've decided to kind of do these sporadically. So I don't want you guys to miss out. So definitely be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That way you're able to be notified whenever these things go live, because I don't want you guys to miss out on those or anything like that. So please be sure to do that. We already have some people pulling in, so I'm going to give you guys some more time to get added backstage. But the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the Trae Waynes injury. Honestly, this shouldn't really surprise you guys if you've been monitoring things. It was pretty much a kind of known thing 2 weeks ago when Malik Wright of Wright Report stated that Trae Waynes was essentially going to be out possibly up to a month. So for me, this Trae Waynes injury isn't really a surprise. And he also had stated as well that Eli Apple was going to start in his place. Now, how do I feel about that? I'm not the biggest Eli Apple guy. I tend to try to be a realist, so I'm not going to paint this with some Ohio State sunshades on and act like Eli Apple is the greatest thing ever. It is possible that he could be a liability, but the one thing that I will say that Eli Apple brings to the table is some game experience. So although it definitely is going to be a downgrade from Trae Waynes and having him there, this guy was a first-round draft pick, and he has had his fair share of starting experience in this league. Now, that doesn't mean that it was good experience, but I think what it means is he's actually been there, whereas last season you had times where LaShawn Sims kind of had to start for you and, you know, Troy Brown and guys like that. So that's the one thing that I will say. But the Bengals can, I think, in this situation, try to use a combination of Eli Apple and Darius Phillips to at least try to sit up there and do something. But obviously, it's going to be a huge loss. And obviously, it's going to hurt when you're going against Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. I mean, that's just a top duo. Even if Waynes was healthy, that still was going to be a tall order, right? Because that's arguably one of the best duos in the league. So the Trae Waynes injury, like I said, I feel like we already should have known about this. But one thing that I will say is the fact that they didn't add him to the IR, unless they're trying to play some kind of game with that, I think is actually good news, because whenever a player goes on the injured reserve, to my understanding, they have to miss at least 3 games. And so that's big, because when you're looking at even down the road, when the Bengals play the Steelers, right, and the Steelers put Zach Banner and Stephon Tuitt on IR this week, that means that they're not going to be in that game, right? So I think that means that there is a possible chance, maybe they think possibly with the hamstring, that he might be able to return week 2 or week 3, or else I feel like they probably would have put him on IR if that weren't the case. So with the Trae Waynes thing, you know, it's going to suck. It's definitely going to be a struggle, but it is what it is. The next thing that I wanted to really address is the Jamar Chase thing. For me, you know, rookies are going to struggle with drops and learning offenses and just adjusting to the NFL in general. So for me, I didn't have this view going into it that Jamar Chase was just going to hit the ground running, because I tried to set realistic expectations with him not playing an entire year. This being the NFL, there's always going to be a learning period. I think some people feel like we were teased or spoiled, at least with AJ Green, when he came in and those stipulations that happened in that season with it being a lockout season and stuff like that. But when you really look back on it, think about every wide receiver that the Bengals have taken after AJ Green, whether it was John Ross, whether it was Marvin Jones, whether it was Mohamed Sanu, there's always Tyler Boyd. There was always a learning curve where these guys had to actually learn the position, learn the speed and everything like that and develop as receivers. And I don't feel like the same, I guess, expectations were actually granted to Chase. So for me, I've always felt like anytime you bring in a rookie, especially with the stipulations that Chase came in with missing the season, there's going to be hiccups along the way, right? We just hope that we see improvement from game to game and that they're not still there at the end of the season. And I think that that's what honestly needs to be done and be given in this situation, because it's just kind of crazy that the guy can't drop a pass or anything like that without people freaking out. And I get it. You picked him at number 5, but at the end of the day, all these rookies are rookies, right? You look at what happened with Billy Price. You look at the majority of the Bengals rookies that they've had in the first round, whether it's Jonah Williams or whoever it is, there's always been a learning curve. Like Jonah Williams didn't hit the ground running as soon as they put him in there. And I think you just have to give that same kind of support to these rookies. Now, I could go back and make even further examples of that, but at the end of the day, I think Chase will be fine. I think that he will get better as the season progresses, and I think that he should be okay. Now, as far as the Bengals-Vikings game, this one was a tough one for me because, you know, the Vikings are a good team, right? And you've got Joe Burrow coming back from a knee injury, so he didn't really get to play in that preseason game. I mean, he really was only in there for, 3 snaps. So for me, I think it's a tall order to just say that he's going to come in and hit the ground running. I'm not saying that that can't happen, but I think that I personally want to give him like a game buffer so that he can kind of go through things and, you know, kind of feel everything out, because I think that there will be some rust. Now, it will be against the Minnesota Vikings. I honestly wish that they would have swapped the Bears and the Vikings games, because I feel like he would have a better opportunity against Andy Dalton, whereas you're bringing in Kirk Cousins, who's an underrated quarterback himself. You have Dalvin Cook. You have these other guys at receiver with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. And then you have Mike Zimmer as a defensive coordinator. So not only is it going to be tough with pretty much Zimmer going at Burrow and throwing at Burrow whatever he can, he's also coming off of a knee injury. So for me, I'm hoping for the best. I'm never going to say that I hope that the Bengals lose, but I do see that this one will be a tall order for us to beat the Minnesota Vikings. I'll probably give a more in-depth preview later. And that's not to say that they can't win, because, I mean, he could hit the ground running like Deshaun Watson did the year after his knee injury. But I'm going to go ahead and stop taking up time. I got some people waiting in the back. I just want to get this one super chat out of the way, and then I will bring in my man Big Hat and my man Aiden. So I got a super chat from Mr. Whisper for $5. He says, can you do a cut the tape on Eli Apple to see if he's improved over his career? He has the speed, athleticism. I think his problem was instincts. So as you guys know, you might not know, right now, the NFL Game Pass has been disabled. So that's why you haven't seen any cut the tape ons when it comes to guys that are in the NFL right now. That's why I had to kind of stop the Joe Burrow thing. Until they give us that back, my hands are pretty much tied with that. And so if they have it back up, I'll do a check. But the last thing I heard, all 22 was down. So if it is back up, I'll be sure to try to do a cut the tape on. But from my knowledge and understanding, as of now, it's still not up. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my man, Big Hat. What's up, Big Hat?
What's going on, my man? What's going on? Out here from Virginia, man. Big Bengals fan. Who they?
Who they? Good to see you.
But yeah, my question was, I had 2 questions. My first one is, I'm a big Madden player, but I just can't seem to chase in the right spot. Like, he's just not built for Madden. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, he's got a short and he's not the fast either. So I'm like, playing him in the slot, I just don't want him there because I know Boyd does his best work in the slot. You know?
Facts.
That's my first question. And my second question is, can we get Zim on AFC North Talk? I do not like the Browns guy. I hate him. I need him to go in there and, you know, I let you do informative, but them just bring that.
He bring that energy.
Yeah. So, you know, I need to send him or at least bring the Browns guys, the we pay the Browns on there. You know, I don't like him. He talk a lot of trash. And yeah.
That's fact.
Me, boss.
Yeah, no problem, bro. So to answer your first question with Chase and Madden is really hard. Honestly, I only got the demo at this point because I was kind of disappointed with the product that they put out there. But the other thing is they don't really pay too much attention to our players because I kind of felt some type of way that Chase wasn't even the first rookie rated. He wasn't even the highest one in there. So I get what you mean. Like if you put Chase in the slot, then where does that put Boyd? I've seen people like put Chase on the outside and kind of try to go with the deep bombs, but it's tough. For me, I would probably say I probably put Higgins as the number one receiver. I probably put Chase as the number two because that way he get easier matchups in that end. And then I would have Boyd in the slot. But then I would probably also move them around like with the packages and stuff like that, depending on what you could do. Because I think in that situation, let's say you go empty or something like that, you could put Boyd and Chase on the inside. And I think either way, if you have a linebacker or something like that, I don't feel like they'd be able to keep up with them in that aspect. But yeah, that's how I would do it. In regards to the second one, I'm trying to get this to happen with Zim and Quincy. I think they both definitely want to make it happen. So we're going to try to figure some things out and get that to happen. I just know that we all know, I think if it ends up being Zim and Quincy, it's probably going to go a little left, but I think respectfully, it won't be
energy too. He definitely got energy.
Yeah, they definitely both had energy. And they started a little bit on Twitter. Like this was actually originally supposed to happen a while ago. And originally it didn't happen because Zim was like, because while the Browns were doing good, he was like, well, what am I going to say? Like, we're going to talk about the Browns the last 20 years while they in the playoffs, who's worse and this and that. And so we've been trying to wrinkle out those aspects of it, but it's just got to happen. I just got to get both of them together for it to happen. And so, yeah, I'm going to definitely try to make sure I make that happen for you, bro.
Well, thank you, man. Y'all want to keep doing your thing, man. Who they?
Yes, sir. Who they? Appreciate you, bro.
Already.
All right. That was my man, Big Hat. I got the link up on the video. You can see it down there. It's the StreamYard one. That way you can join any type of way possible. Zim and Quincy is going to be crazy, bro. I'm with him on that. Like, I want to see that myself. Like, I've been wanting to see that smoke for the longest. And so we'll have to see what's going on with that. But I'm going to bring in my man Alden, who's wearing the MIGOS shirt. What's up, bro?
What's up?
Appreciate that.
How are you?
Pretty good in yourself. And if you guys are watching this and you're looking to get that shirt yourself, there's a link in the description. But is it Aiden?
Aiden, yes, sir.
Aiden, what we got tonight, bro?
All right, I got two questions.
Let's go.
What's your key to success for victory in week one? For me, like you said, Joe Burrow's coming off that injury. I think Joe Mixon's going to need to carry that offense a little bit, at least for the first couple of weeks.
Right.
And then my second one is it's been forever since we've had a solid kicker guaranteed from 50.
Facts.
What's the nickname? What's up?
Whew, you put me on the spot with that one. All right, so let me start with the first one. The keys to the Vikings game, I think, are going to be several. Like, you have to contain Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, right? So we can't allow both of those guys.
Fantasy.
That's always the fantasy thing is always another factor, right? But I would say you have to contain both of those guys. You're not going to stop them, right? They're great receivers. But you can't let Eli Apple just get blown up the entire game. If Eli Apple is, having a tough day, you're going to have to throw Darius Phillips out there. You're going to have to come up with a different kind of plan in order to contain them. I think even if you let them establish some run game, make them run heavy. Like if they want to run with Dalvin Cook, let them do that. I'm not saying to let Dalvin Cook just control the entire game, but I would rather Dalvin Cook have a big day versus those receivers, because I feel like as far as the time of possession and things of that nature, like you can kind of roll with letting Dalvin do some things on the ground, and then you're answering them with touchdowns and stuff through the air, or if it's with Mixon grinding it out, that game will be a lot closer. But if you let them just throw and do whatever, it's going to be tough, and the defense is going to have to try to stop them, and then the offense is going to have to try to catch up, and then Joe Burrow's rusty. So I think what you have to do is try to keep it as close as possible, limit those receivers. If you can even just get away with them having drives where they settle for 3, do it. And if you can force some kind of turnovers and get pressure, and I think that's another big thing, the Vikings offensive line isn't the best offensive line in the league. So I think one way that you can also affect them is getting pressure on Kirk Cousins, right? It sounds stereotypical about, get pressure on the quarterback. But honestly, in this aspect of the game, with you not having your starting corner out there, you've got to get that defensive line home and there as early as and as often as possible, because you don't know what you have in Eli Apple as a corner, right? And he hasn't even played in the preseason. So that's a huge gamble. So I think containing the wide receivers, getting pressure on them, making them, I guess, one-dimensional, whether that's running. I would like for them to be a running team in this game versus them being, exploding in the passing game. But obviously we don't want Dalvin Cook to run for 300 yards either. So don't take it that way. But I think that those are some of the keys to that game. And then when you talk about McPherson, I think that you make a great point. He's definitely going to be huge, especially in a game like this. If it is a close game, those field goals are going to matter, especially when it comes to being able to do that. Or if you want to try to steal a game at the end and you end up with the last possession, now you can actually do that. You can play chess where you let the Vikings score, and then you know that you're going to get the ball back and be able to run off with the game-winning field goal. So he definitely brings a different dimension to the team and the outcome of the games. But I also will say, in terms of a nickname, Evan McPherson. I don't really have one. I've seen some on Twitter, but Evan McPherson.
Evan Kickpherson.
I've heard that.
I saw Money Mick.
Money Mick. Yeah. I think it'll naturally come. I feel like sometimes when you try to force a nickname, it's like hard.
Yeah.
But as long as we don't have Fat Randy coming through or any kind of negative connotation like Shank Graham or anything like that, I think Evan should be fine. But I don't know, bro. I don't have a nickname for him right now. Some people are saying Legatron. We'll see. But I like Legatron out of the most of them. Legatron is a dope one. So if I had to give my vote into the bucket of what's out there now, I probably would say Legatron.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you, bro. Take care.
Who day?
Yes, sir. Who day? All right. And then we're going to bring in my man Diddy. My man Diddy is backstage. Don't forget you can join with the link that I have there. Diddy, what's good, bro?
What's going on, man?
Chilling, man. Good to see you, bro. If you guys don't know, Diddy is like, to me and Zim, we feel like he's like one of the number one Bengals fans because he's everywhere. I can't go anywhere and not see Diddy in the comments or in the video chat or any of that. What's up, bro?
What's going on, man? How do you feel about our offensive line? Like, I feel like they over there trashing Jackson Carman because of where we picked him.
Right.
Like, look at Tevin Jenkins. He's not even playing this year because his back.
Facts.
So it's like, okay, so if we picked him up, y'all would be like, well, he's hurt. Well, we got who we got. Let the man develop. I prefer that we're not rushing him out on the field right now. I don't want another Michael Jordan situation.
Right.
Even though I am kind of upset that he got waived. I was looking for maybe put him on the practice squad, let him actually get an offensive line coach instead of Jim Turner. He shouldn't be allowed to coach a high school team.
Facts.
He pulled the BS in Miami, so who's to say he's going to change? He shows who he is.
Every step of the way. Like, you made a great point with that. He's definitely done that every step of the way in terms of that. I would probably say I feel confident with the offensive line. Like, I mean, you can almost see the difference. I know preseason probably isn't the biggest, gauge, but it shows something, right? Because
it showed a lot of improvement. The fact that our ones didn't give up any type of pressures to the other team's ones.
Especially in the Washington game, Tampa, like you said, like that showed a lot because
off of a backup who's not even on our team anymore. Like, okay, good for you.
Right. Nah, that's facts. I think when I look at it from just that perspective, I think one of the reasons we didn't know how bad the line was going to be is because we didn't have preseason last year. Like, we knew it was going to be bad, right? Don't get me wrong, but we didn't know how bad it was going to be. And I think like one thing that I could kind of compare it to would be like when I watched like a Jags Saints Thursday night game, and it was like literally every play somebody was in the backfield with Trevor Lawrence. And I feel like if you would have seen that in the preseason, the season before with the Bengals, then you would know, or the Bengals would have known early on, all right, we need to go ahead and trade for somebody, get somebody else in here. Like we got to make some moves. I feel like this season we didn't see any of that. Like you said, like in all of the preseason games, there was nobody running for their life. Like we all saw last year what it looked like. We've seen over the years what a bad offensive line looked like. And I think the biggest thing was that we saw, we've seen before what Frank Pollack could do. We saw it in 2018. And we were able to see things like you said. You mentioned Michael Jordan. You would expect Michael Jordan to continue the same play that he had the season prior. And it was evident that he was playing way better than he was. And you look at guys like Fred Johnson, and these guys were saying it. Like they were coming out and saying it. And I think when you just really look at it, they became what I really was looking for and I was asking for in Penei Sewell, which was when I watched us play week 2 against the Browns last year, the thing that stuck out to me the most was that their offensive linemen were bullying us. They were getting after it. They were being physical. And that's what I saw. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to be the Browns offensive line, right? But I saw that tenacity and, that strength and just bullying people, throwing corners on the ground. Like these were things that they did not show last season. And so for me, that makes me feel more comfortable with it. I think you hit on another point with Jackson Carman. And it seems to be that people keep kind of trying to move the goalposts on this when you kind of make a point of, okay, so if they didn't get Jackson Carman, were they supposed to get Penei Sewell? And it's like Penei Sewell is struggling. All right, no. Okay, we all wanted Chase. Then it was the first thing that we heard was, like you said, the first thing we heard, it was you should have taken Tevin Jenkins. You should have taken Tevin. There was no like all of these other guys that are now coming up after Tevin Jenkins is hurt. They weren't really in the discussion by the fan base. Now, I could see if they were in the discussion, more than Tevin Jenkins, but Tevin Jenkins isn't playing, like you said. And then when you talk about Cosme and all of these other guys, a lot of those guys haven't really hit the ground running. There's some, and there's always going to be some, right? But they didn't all hit the ground running. And I think that it's unfair to just pile on Jackson Carman because he was the guy that they liked, when Jackson Carman has played pretty solid. Like, yeah, he hasn't played consistently, but he hasn't played extremely horrible where you're like, oh my God, this is Michael Jordan 2.0. Like, yeah, he's not starting, and there's nothing wrong with that because the Bengals do have 2 starting quality guards. When you talk about Quentin Spain and you talk about Xavier Su'a-Filos, who they saw some stuff from, it makes more sense to let Jackson Carman learn this offense, blocking scheme, and all of that before you, like you said, you have another Michael Jordan situation on your hands and you throw him out there. But I think some people in this fan base will never be satisfied. Now, I'm not mad if you think that they should have gotten another guy or this and that, but I mean, just give Jackson Carman a chance. Like when you draft players, you have to let it play out. Like, is Jackson Carman different than Billy Price when he first started? Is Jackson, like a lot of these people that are loving Jonah didn't have an amazing, start to his career and wasn't this super consistent guy. I can point to games last year where Myles Garrett, who honestly is going to beat everybody, just destroyed him at times last season. And you didn't see me sitting there saying, oh, well, the Bengals should have waited a year and drafted Tristan Wirfs, because what does that matter? They drafted this guy. So you got to get behind him and you got to put him in a situation where he's set up for success. Now, I could understand if you threw him in there and he was just garbage, but he's been solid. He just needs to be more consistent. And I think that it'll be better for them to develop him. And the other thing is, he never played guard in his life. So, like, where are the expectations that he's just going to be able to come in? It's almost like ridiculous where you're expecting him to learn an NFL playbook, learn a brand new position that he's not really played like that, and then just be this day one starter. It just doesn't work like that. And I don't think that is fair for people to just pile on him with that. Now, it would be different if, and I think them cutting Michael Jordan, ironically shows that they do believe in Jackson Carman, because if they didn't, they probably would have kept Michael Jordan right behind him.
Smith.
And Dante Smith is another one. I think that they believe in both of those guys. And so
exactly,
I like
what I've seen from both of them in the
preseason.
Facts.
I like what I saw from both of them in the preseason. I like the fact that they're developing them. And, that speaks to the depth that they have developed through coaching just by not having to put him out there week one. Because if you had to just put him out there immediately, that would mean that you don't have any guys in front of him or behind him that you're confident in, and you just have to throw him out there. So right. I think that that they'll be fine. And I think you're right. Like, let's lay off of Jackson Carman. He did good in the last 2 preseason games, to my knowledge. He was solid from the PFF scores. I think that he'll be all right.
Exactly. And with the offensive line, even though we are lacking depth, I would actually put Jackson Carman at tackle just to see how he does, since he's already a tackle. He knows the position.
Facts.
See what he got. If he can handle it, cool. If not, we can go find some depth. But let him and Dante Smith go for it. See what they have.
With you. Right.
Like, see what you have, because these guys are going to be in our future. So see what you have. Facts. I'm not saying throw them out there to the wolves right this second, but at the same time, Jonah has proven he can't stay healthy for a full 16 games.
Right.
So, and Fred can only play one or the other. He can't. If something happens, I hope not, to Jonah and Riley, you need to know what you have now. Fred can only play one because he's one person.
Right.
That's facts. Another body.
That's facts. I think, and they're trying to get away with holding off until Hakeem Adeniji comes back, and that's another X factor. But you're right. They're going to have to know that those guys can play reserve tackle in the event that does happen. And like you said, if God forbid both tackles are hurt, you got to throw out Fred Johnson and possibly Isaiah Prince. I don't know if you want to do that.
Yeah. Like,
I think I'm confident in Fred. I don't know about Prince.
I'm confident in Fred as long as they don't put him at guard. He's proven he's not a guard, but he is good at both sides of the tackle.
Facts.
As long as he plays tackle, he's good. He's too big of a body to be a guard.
No, I'm with you. And I think that was, once again, just bringing Frank Pollock in to actually set these guys in the right positions. Like, how many times did we see him just take tackles and turn them into guards, and then it just confused dudes? Like, you're just confusing and limiting their growth and their potential. And honestly, that is one of the reasons why they needed to move on from him. Was there anything else you had for me, Diddy?
Yeah, I noticed today they dropped Winston Rose to get Mike Daniels, which I love Mike Daniels, but I'm like, damn, so Tony Brown could stay, but Winston Rose got to go? Really?
Yeah, me and Zelm. So, like, I know you were watching when we said that Mike Daniels was coming back and was going to be on the practice squad. With Winston Rose, honestly, to me, it's not much of a difference between Winston Rose and Troy Brown now. I mean, he might be better, but maybe there's something. I think the only thing that I could think of is Brown has had, some experience in games, and maybe it might be a special teams thing. But I think that they were just looking at it as, for them to go out and get all of these corners, I would assume they expect Trae Waynes to possibly be back sometime in the next few weeks. And they expect that, them having the depth of Eli Apple, Darius Phillips, I think that they're betting on and hoping that they're not going to be in a situation where they have to go into that corner depth. But as we saw last year, they had to. So it's interesting. But the one thing I will say is, if they were doing that to bring back Mike Daniels, I'm not too mad about it, because, we might need Mike Daniels as that 3 technique at some point during the season.
We need him just for his attitude and his swagger. Like, he's the one who brought us. He was like, nah, Pittsburgh ain't big brother. Nah, Baltimore's not big brother. Nah, fuck all that.
Right. Nah, you good.
Like, nah, we about to go ahead and show them we ain't to be played with. Let's go.
Right. The whole mentality was different. And like you said, he just brings a different tone to the locker room, and he's trying to change the culture. And so I'm glad to see that Mike is still here, and that it worked out for him to be on the practice squad. And I think that, you know, if we are in a situation like we were last year, being thin at D tackle, then we actually have some insurance there. And Mike Daniels to be able to come up, or if BJ Hill isn't picking up the scheme, they can swap. Well, they probably won't swap him out, but they could bring Mike up in the event that happens as well.
Right. Last thing is, I've said it a few times. I don't know if you've seen it, but your next MIGOS shirt, you got to have your face in the background somewhere that says "That's facts."
I got you, bro. We definitely gonna have to get a fact shirt.
One of the MIGOS have 1,000 yards this season. You got to be like, and that's facts.
Yes, sir. We got you. We got you, Diddy. Appreciate you, bro. All right, man.
Bye.
Yep. So that is probably gonna wrap it up here for Q&As. Thanks to everybody from coming through, especially my man Diddy. But like I said, please be sure to hit that notification bell, because I'm just gonna be doing these live spontaneous, and you don't want to miss them. So appreciate you guys for listening. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button. And as usual, I'll leave you guys with a who day, all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.
Here comes Moses. Here comes the quarterback, Burrow. Looking for a block, and he got it up in the front by Hopkins into the end zone. Touchdown!
Fakes, throwing to the end zone, wide open is Higgins for the Cincinnati touchdown.
There's the sneak. Burrow gets low, driving towards the goal line. He's inside the one, and he's into the end zone.